Entering the world of solid foods is a monumental milestone in a baby's development. The transition from milk to solids is filled with excitement, curiosity, and a bit of apprehension. Today's guest on the Teaching Your Toddler show is Catherine Callahan. She's one of the co-authors of a new book, Baby Leads the Way, an evidence-based guide to introducing solids, which is a book designed to help parents navigate the journey of starting solid foods with confidence and clarity. Catherine brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the book as a speech language pathologist, pediatric feeding therapist, certified lactation counselor, and mother. Based in Chicago, Catherine has spent years studying the intricacies of infant nutrition and feeding behaviors. Catherine's journey into the world of infant nutrition began with her academic pursuits. She holds a degree in nutrition sciences and has completed extensive research in pediatric nutrition. Her work has been featured in numerous scientific journals, reflecting her commitment to advancing knowledge in this field. Her Instagram page, Shy Kids Feeding, has over 102,000 followers. Please welcome Catherine to the Teaching Your Toddler Show. Hello, this is Mary Jo Tillman from the Teaching Your Toddler Show. Today we have a great guest. Catherine Callahan is with us to talk about an amazing book that has just come out. But first, Catherine, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here, Mary Jo. So I am a speech language pathologist. I have been working for about 17 years in my practice. I am specialized in feeding and swallowing, and I'm a certified lactation counselor, and I'm also a mom of three. I work part-time at a hospital here in Chicago, Lurie Children's Hospital. I work with infants and children with feeding and swallowing difficulties. And then I have a private practice and run my own social media business, Shy Kids Feeding, all about how, supporting children and their families and, any feeding questions they may have. And then I also work with families just locally and actually around the world virtually.
Oh, fantastic. So, as a lactation expert, do you work with moms then also?
Yes, so I work in the hospital. I work in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, where work mostly with moms and babies. We do work on breastfeeding if that's part of their goal, and then I also support families and infants locally who are infants who are struggling with breastfeeding, more on the swallowing or the latching end versus the lactation end, because my specialty is more in based in the speech pathology realm.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so great. We've recently had a couple of shows that are similar to that and talking about how important it is for that whole development area with your mouth. And I had no idea the impact that has. So that's great. So I understand that you were part of writing a book that has just come out. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the book is called Baby Leads the Way. It's published by the American Academy of Pediatrics. I wrote it with a group of five authors. All of the five of us work together for a company called 101 Before One. It's a starting solids program company that's online, and we have published a couple books within that group. So we are a team of all medical professionals and moms. We have a pediatrician on our team, a pediatric allergist, a registered dietitian, me, a speech language pathologist, and then we also have a home chef. And we have worked together for almost about 4 years now. 2 years ago, the AAP reached out to us and asked if we would publish or write a book for them all about starting solids. So we kind of all came together to write this. We each talk about or wrote about our specialty areas. The idea of the book is really like babies are leading the way in feeding themselves and in choosing what to eat and how much to eat. So it is the idea is kind of parents are, you know, parents decide what foods to offer where and when, and then the child decides how much to eat and what foods to eat. And it's all kind of responsive feeding. So we're responding to what the baby's eating and how much they're eating by giving them more or giving them less, stopping the meal. A lot of what I focus on in the book is how to help babies learn to pick up food and feed themselves. And then also the textures of the food. How do we decide which textures are safe for a baby at which stages of their development? So I look at a baby not necessarily just based on their age, but on their overall development. So what developmental skills are we looking for to help guide what textures we're going to serve our babies? And
Wow.
then I think another big, portion of the book is all about uh, building meals or off serving baby through family meals. Family meals are going to be much easier for moms and dads at home who are making the food. So it's how do we modify the family meal so that it is safe for baby to eat too?
Oh my gosh. Okay, definitely want to unpack that a little bit. But I know
Sure.
that the first question is always for moms, especially first-time moms, like what do I do? There's these things that they tell us, we've got to start these specific kinds of foods, soft foods, whatever it is. So tell us, how does this all get started?
Yeah, so we recommend starting salads around 6 months of age, and we want baby to be able to sit up independently. So they're holding their head upright independently. Usually, if you put them on the floor, it's going to be about 2 or 3 minutes before they tip over. That's about the right time to start salads. We want babies to have that good, like, core stability to be able to pick up food, control the movement of their hand, and control the movements in their mouth for chewing. Um, and you're going to start with food. Our approach is very much purees and table foods because if you look at the diet of even us as adults, today I ate yogurt for breakfast and I had eggs. So I'm eating all those textures now so babies can have those same textures from the beginning. And it's all about if you're doing a puree, it's going to be loaded onto a spoon. So parent is helping baby load it onto the spoon. Baby's picking up the spoon and bringing it to their mouth. And then soft food at 6 months, when baby is going to have a whole hand palmar grasp, we call it, they can pick up food with their whole hand. So you're going to serve food in a stick shape that's easy to pick up. And then you're also around 6 months going to serve food that's easily squishable between your fingers so that baby can squish it with their jaw. So babies at 6 months have a munching movement with their jaw. So anything soft and squishy, they can squish with their up and down motion. And as they do that, it's going to turn into almost a puree in the mouth. Um,
Whoa.
so those
That's
are kind of like where you start. And then as baby moves towards 9 months is when they start crawling. And that's when your babies are also using more diagonal movement with their jaw. They're grinding a little bit more so they can handle more, little bit more challenging textures and smaller pieces. They're also getting a pincer grasp at that age where they can pick up food between their two fingers. So you can serve food in little small cubes.
ooh, awesome. So I would think that like the stick shape that smasher, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like an avocado. Is that,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah?
Yes. Uh-huh. Like an avocado is a great example. Sweet potato in the kind of a stick shape.
Mm-hmm.
We even recommend things like chicken, like a soft cooked chicken, something in the slow cooker would be great.
Mm.
Fish, salmon is a really easy one. Sardines is one of my favorite first foods, which sounds
Oh
very
my
gross,
gosh.
but sardines are super iron
Oh
dense.
yeah.
They're
Mm-hmm.
also nice and soft. They're really flavorful. And then they come in a little, they're kind of a stick shape. I recommend
Mm-hmm.
you buy the ones that are boneless and, no salt added, but they're come in a little stick shape, or you can mash them on a utensil with some avocado. Makes a really good, nutrient dense meal.
And tell us a little bit about how do you balance the food, the solids versus like weaning and milk, whatever you're doing for that.
Yeah, so really the breast milk and the formula should stay the same in volume through the first year. So babies start to, spread out their bottle or their breastfeeds as they get older, but really the volume stays about the same. And that's going to be their primary source of nutrition because it's a complete nutrition. But the food is going to supplement that. And it isn't, sometimes people say food is just for fun. It's not really just for fun. I mean, there are a lot of core nutrients that babies need in that food. And the exposure to the food is so good for building their fine motor development and building their oral motor development,
Mm.
desensitizing their mouth. So there are a lot of benefits. But the milk food should stay the same. We usually say around 6 months. You think about offering the solid foods once a day, kind of an hour after a bottle or a breastfeed. Um, and then as baby's skills build and as they enjoy it more, maybe they're starting to intake more volume, then you increase to two meals a day, usually around 8 months or so, and then 3 meals a day around 9 months or so. And those are the solid food meals, but you're keeping all the bottle and the breastfeeds the same.
Is there any correlation between this and having teeth or not?
No, so that is a myth that you need teeth to be able to chew. Actually, the underneath where the teeth come out in your gums is very strong. So babies can use that to chew and grind the food.
That's excellent. Well, that's a dispelling a myth there.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. Um, Here's a question. What about new foods and like how do you make sure that like they're not allergic for or that they just don't like them? I mean, how do you sort of judge? And you talked a little bit about texture. I know one of our kids had a real texture issue about certain things, and others the others just didn't care. It didn't matter.
Yeah, yeah, every baby's a little bit different that way. But so I think it used to be a thought that you had to introduce one new food every 3 days. That is now kind of a myth that's dispelled. We can introduce as much food as you want from the beginning, and we actually encourage that variety from the start, so that then by the time baby has reached age 1, they have already eaten a wide range of foods. So in our program, we recommend a goal of 101 different foods. It just helps set baby up for success when they head into toddlerhood and they are already, used to eating all of these different flavors and textures. So that we call it diet diversity. That diet diversity is super important early in life. But that said, the top 9 allergens are a little bit different. So when you introduce those, you should introduce them one at a time the first time they're offered. And that's just so you know which allergy, if they do have a reaction, they're having a reaction to. But you can introduce one different food each day. You don't have to wait in between. If a child's going to have an allergic reaction, they're going to have it immediately, usually
Hmm.
within 1 to 2 hours. So by the next day, you don't have to worry about it. So those top 9 allergens you're going to introduce, usually we say about a teaspoon first. You watch for about 10 minutes to see if there's any reaction. Could be some swelling, could be some hives, itchy nose, itchy throat, runny eyes. If you're noticing any of that, then of course you'd stop. But if not, then you continue and then you serve baby the whole portion and wait about 2 hours to make sure that they look okay.
Hmm.
And if you have a child who is at a higher risk of food allergies, that would be a baby who has eczema or any
Hmm.
prior existing food allergies. Then you do want to introduce them a little bit earlier. So you
Hmm.
want to use the recommendation is 4 months with those top 9 allergens, especially the peanuts and the eggs.
Hmm.
But anyone who is worried about that or wondering should ask their pediatrician. Their pediatrician can guide them in how to do it and when to start. But we do
Can
have a
you
whole chapter in our book all about this, step by step.
about okay. So besides peanut and eggs, what are the other seven?
Yes, so wheat,
Mm-hmm.
soy,
Okay.
cow's milk, tree
Mm.
nuts, finfish, shellfish, and sesame.
I know sesame's so weird. I've heard that one before, and it's like, oh well, but yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the newest one. Yeah.
Finfish and shellfish. Okay, gotcha. Very good. Thank you very much for reviewing that.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah.
helpful. You talked a little bit about the portion size. One of the things you noted in the beginning was, I mean, it sounds like a lot of what you just described is real food, and so it's going to be a little easier to integrate it in as a family for the meal. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think really, within the book and within our 101 before program, we do have recipes that are, designed to be safe for baby and can the whole family can enjoy. But really, I suggest families take the food they like to eat. Like if you and your partner like to eat salmon once a week, then that's going to be a great food to serve baby because you could just buy a little bit extra and plan that within the meal. Or if you like pasta, it's something you can give baby, chicken. Really kind of think about what your favorite foods are. I always start by asking if families are like, what should I give my baby for their first food? I ask what do they usually eat for dinner during the week?
Hmm.
And one thing that comes up a lot is, parents work late or babies with a nanny. How do you, incorporate them into the family meal? I always say make a little extra and save the leftovers, and that can be baby's lunch the next day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they don't care if they have eggs for lunch or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. I with our kids, we taught sign language. So they were able to tell us if they wanted more, if they were finished, and it was so helpful. But how can you kind of tell if that's not a choice that parents make?
Yeah, so you're really going to watch for babies' uh, just watch babies' facial expressions and their body movements. So if they are like, making a face and turning their head away, or they're starting to want to get out of the chair, okay, those
Mm,
are signs that they are done with the meal, or maybe that specific food that you're offering is not what they really want. I usually tell families to plan about 3 foods for each meal.
mm.
So if you start with one and baby's kind of turning away or starting to throw the food, that would be a good time to maybe pull out one of those other foods that you've already set aside and planned for the meal. And then I think, if they are like leaning forward and opening their mouth and reaching their hands towards the food, well, then that means they want more and they're still hungry. So really watching for um, those physical
The
cues.
little
But I really think teaching sign language is super important, and that is really a big part of responsive feeding. You're kind of responding to what the baby asks for. The baby is learning to respond to you by communicating with you with their body.
It helped so much. I mean, my daughter just she ate so much and I just kept like, okay, okay. And then she would finally say, yeah, like I was finished, but I had no idea. If I would have massively underfed her thinking, oh, she doesn't want it, but she kept telling us more and more. And then she would tell us when she was finished very expressively. So it works very well. If anyone's wondering, it worked very well for our family for sure. I love this
And
idea. Go ahead.
I was going to say it is something then that they can keep building on, through toddlerhood. Learning sign language actually helps promote language development. So it's a great thing
Yes.
to start early. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was very good for all of our kids. In fact, we just recently found a little video of my son who is now 17 and he was stomping on a flower and he was asking me in his sign language, he was asking me to please help him because he
Oh,
wanted
how
help
cute.
stomping the little flower. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it was so cute." Anyway,
Oh.
so tell us. I understand that the group that put this book together is actually 101 before one. So, I mean, do you have a list in the book? Is there like some ideas for the 101 foods?
Yeah, so in our program, the 101 Before One program, we have a fridge magnet and also a printable list of all 101 different foods that are all sorted by category. The list includes the top 9 allergens at the top, so families can check all of these foods off as they go and reach their goal. And then at the end, usually there's a celebration, and you can get a balloon and a little onesie. Just a nice way for families to kind of, I think keeping track of the progress really, helps to motivate you to keep going and keep exposing baby to a variety.
Wow, I would think that this approach would help prevent pickiness. Is that true?
Yeah, so how can I say this? The idea is that you introduce baby to a variety early on when they are more susceptible to eat a variety. So in that like 6 to 10 month range, babies are pretty open in general to accept a variety of food. Now there's always going to be some that are a little bit different, but in general, that is kind of like a window of opportunity for exposing baby to a variety. As you get closer, like 10 to 12 months is when some of that like pickiness and neophobia, fear of new foods comes
Mm,
in. So the idea is you expose babies to a variety of foods early on that when they reach toddlerhood, the food isn't going to be as new. So it's
hmm.
not like all of a sudden, they've been eating smooth baby food and then all of a sudden they're going to have a piece of chicken on their plate. They're going to be very scared of what it is. I always tell families like it's like if you went to a different country and somebody put like let's say a cricket on your plate and they said, okay, now you eat the cricket. You would definitely, it's going to be really hard to eat it. But if they exposed you to that cricket like for a long time, putting it on the table, putting it in front of you, you're going to get used to seeing it. You're going to watch other people eat it, right? Because you're exposing through a family meal, so it's going to be easier to try it versus just that
Hmm.
surprise of it.
That's
But
a good analogy for sure.
yeah, the idea is you expose them to this variety early on. When they reach toddlerhood, they're going to be less likely to be picky. Now, picky eating is caused by many different things. So, it can be some genetic factors, it can
Mm,
be motor factors, how babies can handle food in their mouth, it can be personality and temperament. So, we can't say that this is going to prevent it completely, but it can
mm,
certainly set your kids up for success when they reach
hmm.
toddlerhood.
Is there an for something that's harder, like an apple, is it better to give them a bigger piece and let them suck on it, or is it something that you would like cut into tiny pieces, or is that really like you got to just kind of see what your child can handle?
Yeah, so in general, bigger pieces are going to be easier. They're going to be easier for baby to pick up and control. We always want baby to put the food in their mouth themselves. You have the higher risk of choking if you put the food into baby's mouth.
Ooh,
Something like an apple is actually a choking hazard food. So an apple specifically, we don't recommend till after age 4. But something, let's say, like that sweet potato, it's going to be easier for baby to handle in a bigger chunk. When they put it into their mouth, they're going to be able to feel it more. It's heavier. It's going to be easier to bite. It requires less precise motor movement in the mouth. So bigger is always easier and better.
gotcha. Thank you. Wow, that's good. Before I let you go, so tell me a little bit about the work that you do with if a child has an issue with like sucking or chewing, what kind of work would you be doing?
So a lot of it is modifying how we're presenting the food. So work with families one-on-one. I see them, in their homes, and I watch them eat a meal, and then I help families to choose foods that are going to help promote or develop their chewing skills. And then I help teach families how to serve those foods so that they are easier for babies to handle and chew. We also do things like little exercises in the mouth to help them kind of learn more different motor patterns with their mouth for chewing and swallowing. And then similarly with sucking, in infants, it's a little bit different, but it's working on kind of practicing that sucking motion and giving them those positive oral experiences early on.
I remember hearing about like the tongue thrusting and then they couldn't latch and all the things like that. And it was so
Uh-huh.
it's very
Yeah,
stressful as a mother to think about all those possibilities, right?
definitely. Yes.
Well, Catherine, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure and I mean, so eye-opening. I think there's a lot of things you brought up today. Tell us how to find you and then also how to find the book. And of course, we'll include all of this in our show notes and so that people can find you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have a website. It's called Shy Kids Feeding. It's CHI like Chicago, kidsfeeding.com. So I have a lot of information about the services I provide there. And then they can also find me on Instagram at Shy Kids Feeding. I have tons of videos and reels with simple tips that families can use right away if their little ones are having difficulty, or if they just want some inspiration for meals or how to serve foods. And then you can find us also at 101before1.com and at 101before1 on Instagram. And then the book Baby Leads the Way is on Amazon, it's on Target, pretty much anywhere you can get your books online.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks so much for the conversation today. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. You too. This was so nice.
Thank you. This has been the Teaching Your Toddler Show with Mary Jo Tinlin. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave a 5-star review or a thumbs up so we can reach more parents like you. To be notified when new shows post, please subscribe by sending an email to subscribe@teachingyourtoddler. For more expert interviews, fun activities, and storytime podcasts, please visit our website at teachingyourtoddler.com. All of our shows are also posted as videos as well on our YouTube channel at Mary Jo Tinlin. Find us on Facebook at Teaching Your Toddler, X at Teaching Toddler, Instagram at Teaching Your Toddler, and make sure you check out our past shows. We have so many diverse topics. There's most likely more shows that you will enjoy. Thanks for joining us and come back and see us again real soon.